Hi, I'm Mark from eReplacementParts.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the starter assembly on a Troy-Bilt TB280ES lawnmower. Your Troy-Bilt TB280ES lawnmower uses a Briggs & Stratton engine. It's not uncommon on Briggs & Stratton engines for the starter assembly to be riveted to the blower housing. And this makes for an intimidating repair for a lot of people because they're not sure what to do about those rivets. But actually this is a very easy repair to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. We'll get started by removing the engine cover. It's held in place with a couple of screws. Next, I'll detach the pull cord from the upper handle. Next, I'll remove the 3 screws that attach the upper region of the fuel tank to the engine. Now I'll just lift the fuel tank away from the engine. Next, we'll need to temporarily remove the oil filling spout. It's held in place with one bolt on the top, and then there's just a gasket holding it in place at the base. I'll just pull the spout away from the engine. Now we need to remove the blower housing from the engine. It's held in place with 2 bolts on the front and 2 on the back. Now I can remove the blower housing from the engine. Here I have the blower housing with the starter assembly mounted to it. And like I mentioned before, Briggs & Stratton uses rivets to connect the starter assembly to the blower housing. To remove these, we need to drill them out with a drill. So I'll just use the drill to drill out the bulk of the metal around the top of the rivet, and then we should be able to separate the lower half. There's 1 rivet, and we have 3 more to go. I've removed the starter from the blower housing, and now we can go ahead and install our new starter. The new starter comes in a kit that includes some bolts and nuts. And instead of using rivets, we'll use the bolts and nuts to install the new starter. Now we can install the new starter onto the blower housing. You'll notice that the starter can be lined up in a number of different directions on the blower housing, so it's important that you line it up the proper way. For our Troy-Bilt TB280ES lawnmower, we want to line it up so that the grommet that the rope passes through will point straight to the back of the mower. Once I have it aligned, I'll just use the hardware that came with the starter to install the starter to the blower housing. It's critical that I insert the bolt from the blower housing side up through the starter housing and not from the starter housing down through the blower. If you put the bolts through from the top, the end of the bolt will actually interfere with the fan on the flywheel. And now I'll just use a couple of wrenches and tighten up all the nuts and bolts. Now we can remount our blower housing and starter assembly back to the engine. Now realign the oil fill tube and resecure it to the engine. Next, we'll reattach the fuel tank. First, I'll resecure the lower fuel tank bolt. And now the 3 screws on the upper region of the fuel tank. Now I can reattach the rope to the upper handle. And we'll wrap it up by replacing the engine cover. While it might look intimidating, as you can see, replacing the starter on your Troy-Bilt TB280ES lawnmower is really very easy to do. And doing this repair yourself will save you a lot of money versus taking your mower into a repair shop. We hope you found this video helpful. Please feel free to leave a comment or ask us a question.